Hello everyone and welcome to Up All Night Daybreak. If you haven't seen the previous episodes of this series, I would highly encourage you guys to check them out. Link to that is up there and in the description right after the link to the game. Also, this game is actually part of this year's Queer Halloween Stories bundle. Get over 100 amazing games, books, and audio dramas for the low price of $60. You all know that I love supporting indie developers, and I think that this bundle is a great way to actually support these indie creators and also get a whole bunch of games and other content which you can definitely chill up to for the spooky month. But anyway, let's get right into it, shall we? The dream was back. The old one, where Bree's teasing laugh had turned into a final scream, where Tyler slowly suffered before the end, where I had broken more than just my leg. The dream full of their haunted whispers. You did this. You killed us. Just like you killed them. I know. The incoherent flashes of the wreck resolved into a horrible structure. The nightmare always did this. Pulled me through every feeling before giving it form. I found myself in the clearing where Tyler and Bree had died, where I lay for hours wishing I could join them. Except, instead of a warm summer night, it was cold. Too cold. Snow fell, dusting my shoulders. My breath fogged into the frigid air. The moon hung full and low in the sky, illuminating everything in cold silver light. The two nights were bleeding together. Damn. Don't you tire of this? Out of a blur of fog and swirling snow, Felix materialized, looking as rigid and judgmental as ever. What are you doing here? He waved a dismissive hand at the corpses scattered across the frosted, muddy earth. The same thing they are. You wanted me here. He was wearing his human face, but half of it was reduced with twisted mass of splintered bone and blackened blood. He sighed, surveying Tyler's mangled body, that last long groan rattling from the broken man's lips on a loop. That's the third night of this, in a row. Nick, if you're going to pull me into your cursed nightmares, at least have the decency to offer variety. The part of his lips that was still intact curled in annoyance, his single eye narrowing. Dark ichor dripped down the mangled half of his face, streaking his perfectly pressed dress shirt. Sorry to disappoint. I clung to his criticism like a life raft. It made the dream feel less solid, not that I would ever let him know it. As much as it pains me to admit, I think I like those foolish friendship fantasies better. At least I had my full face in those. Ew. You like those? You ruined the last one. Not another word about your damn beach party dream, Nick. Not one. I thought those swim trunks looked good on you. Because you have no taste. I thought of the warm beach, everyone laughing and drinking slushies until Felix had snapped. It was a pretty good one until you decided to kill everyone. He pointedly ignored my comment. You know, Nick, you actually have to face the problems if you want to move on. I rolled my eyes, anger boiling inside me, covering up the pit of apathy that threatened to consume my heart. Isn't that what I'm doing? I knew Tyler and Bree were behind me, but I didn't want to look. I couldn't look. Felix seemed to notice. Unless I'm your biggest problem, no, you aren't. You can't rewrite the past, but I'd appreciate it if you deal with your little hang-ups on your own. Stop pulling me into your nightmares. That's easy for you to say. The howl of a wolf in the distance made us both jump. Grayson. No, absolutely not. I have no interest in fully reliving my death again. You put an end to this now. Wake up. The sound of heavy paws on damp earth padded closer. An animal scent filled the air, mingled with the copper tang of blood that surrounded us. Maybe tonight she'll kill me. I deserve it. Felix's eyes were wide, on the edge of panic. You selfish little child! I refuse to suffer on repeat just because you have a death wish. The nervous energy coming off him in waves made me nauseous. I wanted her to come. Wanted her to dig out every rotten piece of myself with claws and violence. I wanted it for Felix, too. You're the one who killed her parents. We both deserve whatever she does to us. It isn't even her. She's not like me. She's not really here. We still deserve it. Maybe even more, since the real her doesn't know. He lunged at me, his nails elongating, skin taking on a blue pallor of a bloodless corpse. With a vicious flick of his wrist, he drew those wicked talons across my neck. For a moment, we simply stared at each other. Then a warm torrent of blood began to pour from the deep wound he'd made. I gagged, but I toppled backward, feet entangling with Tyler's twitching body. A dark shadow lumbered out from the tree line. The snow was falling faster now, and steam emanated from the wide gash in my neck. Wake up! I stared at him defiantly, clinging to the ethereal life I had in this dream. Then she'd be able to get him, to help balance out some small piece of what he'd done to her. The shadow resolved into a giant werewolf, lips pulled back into a wicked snarl. Saliva dripped down in thick, viscous ropes from its jaw. My vision darkened. I heard the werewolf strike out at Felix. He screamed, and I could hear the tearing of flesh as the dream dissipated around me. I let out one last, gurgling, bloody laugh. What? Nick. Please. Remember your promise. It weren't your fault. Yo! My eyes shot open. I gasped, head pounding. No! My clothes were damp. Or was I? I lifted trembling fingers to my throat. Oh, for a minute It really had felt like he'd ripped my throat open. I was coated in cold sweat that made me shiver. I needed to repair the heater. The camper I was living in was a real fixer-upper, and I hadn't exactly finished with the whole fixing it part. I turned my phone screen on to check the time and groaned. 5 in the morning. Too early to get up, but too late to actually fall asleep again, especially after a dream like that. I lay there, eyes fixed on the weathered panels that made up the ceiling. I had a missed call last night from Katie. I checked the messages. Happy birthday, you big idiot. Bet you forgot it's tomorrow, huh? I'm not letting you ghost me the way you did on Christmas. Anyway, I'm coming over in the morning, so be sure to get some sleep. I groaned. Perfect. I really didn't want to think about stuff like my birthday or Christmas. In fact, if every day could be a boring, normal one, that would be great. The normal days never reminded me of how alone I really was. If I remembered it was my birthday, who knows what else would have seeped its way into my nightmares. There was a half-used cigarette I'd snuffed out last night sitting in the ashtray. Yeah, why not? I pulled it from the mound of ashes and discarded butts and relit it, not bothering to sit up. The thick smoke burned my throat, making me cough. The tobacco tasted stale and slightly damp. Half of me was still there, in the clearing. The snow. I always hated the dreams that stuck with me like that, which meant pretty much all of them. And on top of all that, I thought I heard Grayson at the end. A wave of nausea washed over me. I winced and tried to shove the echoes of the dream deep into a recessed corner of my mind. Come on, man. Get it together. I sat up. Maybe that would chase away those last traces of the dream. There was no way in hell I was going back to sleep. What if Felix was still in there? He kept telling me he was real, but he couldn't be. It was just more BS in the back of my brain. My mouth felt dry. There was an open beer can on the table and I grabbed it. No, bad idea. Don't do it. Don't. I downed the rest of the warm, flat liquid that I'd left sitting out the night before. Ew, stale beer. I shuddered, part of me enjoying how terrible it tasted. Not like it deserved any better, but at least my tongue no longer felt like cotton. Nicholas Taurus, what on earth is wrong with you? and I choked on the last drops of the beer, sputtering in shock. I'm still dreaming? Fortunately for me, no. There was a dark anger in his eyes, roiling and cold all at once. His gaze was like a flame that froze what it touched instead of burning it. Was it just in my head, or had the temperature dropped a few more degrees? You waited for her to slaughter me, and you don't even have the decency to look happy about it. I stared at him flatly. Get out. No, I don't think I'm going to. We need to have a talk. About what? You've been thinking of me, so strongly in fact, that you've been summoning the last vestige of my essence back into the physical world. He narrowed his cold, blue eyes, every rigid muscle in his body radiating tension. Why? What are you up to? I flipped my laptop open and typed in the password. The window I'd been staring at last night popped up. Felix made an involuntary noise of surprise. What? He peered over my shoulder and I tensed at his close. Hey, yo! You know, I kind of had a feeling that they're both really into each other, and this is just fueling my need to ship them together. God, is that an obituary? I kept my face blank. The full screen picture of an H newspaper clipping pulled up on my laptop. Yeah, it is. I've been staring at it last night before I fell asleep. It was for Felix's father, a man named Henry Baker. I found it during one of my deep dives into the local university's library records. I scanned it in myself. Paper records are terrible, you know? Felix shook his head slowly. Disbelief etched on his stony face. Felix Baker, huh? Not Felix Evro Duval? Sounds so common. No wonder you changed it. A flicker of something akin to pain quickly flashed across his face before dissipating, and in its place lingered a blank mask of disinterest. I didn't. Well, I suppose I did. Contracts come with additional clauses, after all. I always assumed you hated your dad. I do. He ruined that name. Ruined it and borrowed money so dirty, it set the debt collectors after us all. That man deserved everything he got. An email notification popped up and I automatically clicked it open. What is that? Oh, I got in. My heart sped up as I read the email, the college acceptance letter. I had gotten into Aspen Valley University. The email felt more personal than it should have. I almost felt happy, which was pretty ridiculous, all things considered. I wasn't exactly going there with plans to get a degree, now that the university knew that. Felix raised a thin brow, his interest piqued. Aspen Valley? Why would you decide to go there? Because I can learn things there I wouldn't be able to anywhere else. I found that obituary in their public archives and something else. Pulled it from a local newspaper. I pulled up a second scanned newspaper clipping. This one was about the grisly unaliving of a failed, destitute businessman named Henry Baker. But the obituary had glossed over the events surrounding his death. This article went into gruesome detail. Felix had gone rigid again. Your dad's death wasn't really, self-inflicted, wasn't it? How very astute of you. You did it? I did. I won't say I'm proud of it. He did slit his own throat. It took a moment for the implication to sink in. You'd already been turned. You charmed him. I prefer enthrall. Bet you didn't change your surname. Not willingly. That pained look was back. And on him, it looked like he had tasted something rotten. It was mine. I wanted to be the one that pulled the Baker name back out of the gutter. But no, I couldn't even manage that. As per the usual, I never get what I want. He locked eyes with me. My stomach dropped. I stood up and walked over to the fridge. A 12-pack of beer was sitting alone on the bottom shelf, half of it gone. I hadn't bothered to pull the remaining ones out of the box. Before sunrise? Really? You have picked up some nasty habits. I didn't need him judging me. No, when he was most of the reason I wanted to crack open a cold one at this ungodly hour. Look, I don't need a lecture. You bring any vodka from that pit you crawled out of? Some tomato juice? Celery? He was looking increasingly annoyed. What for? I shrugged. Bloody Mary sounded good for breakfast. His eyes flickered red. I smiled. Good. I'd piss him off. Nicholas Taurus, you are the reason why I am here. Why are you digging into my history? There's nothing to be gained there. What on earth are you thinking? I'm thinking where there's one blood-sucking parasite, there are others. That's what I'm thinking. For a moment, he looked like a scared kid, the teenager he'd been when he'd been turned shining through. What else have you found? I laughed, and I could taste the stale beer coming back up as bile in the back of my throat. Take a guess, Felix. He looked away, and I noted he was clenching his jaw. These questions are bloody and pointless. All you are is a fool on a desperate mission. Leave the dead be. Go rot somewhere in peace and maybe I'll think about it. His fingers elongated, and his skin took on the bloodless, rotten pallor of a decaying corpse, just as it had in the dream. Thoughtless? You are so... I am sorry? He broke off into a frustrated snarl and grabbed the front of my shirt, pulling me down on top of it. And you guys wouldn't give me an ending where I got to be with Felix. I mean, technically, one of the endings I actually got to be with Felix, but like, why couldn't they kiss? They need to kiss already. Please, developer, I know you're watching this. Please, for the love of God, please give us a route where we get to give Felix the sloppy 9000, please. I'm kidding, of course. I'm kidding. You can do whatever you want with a sequel of this game. By the way, guys, yes, there's a sequel coming out real soon. Remnants of Dawn. I'm really looking forward to that one. But anyway, the sharp nails pierced through the front of my shirt where he grabbed me. His face was right next to mine. I could feel his breath, as cold as an ice storm. You can touch me? Felix looked as shocked as I did. He lifted up a clawed finger and drew it down my cheek, almost gently. It hurt. You know, you can't tell me that this is not baiting us into thinking there's something more between both Nick and Felix. Like, you can't tell me that's not what this is. A droplet of blood welled up and slid down the side of my face. No, this isn't right. My throat constricted in alarm. He'd killed who knows how many people with those hands, bitten them with those fangs of his. I'd watched him die. He shouldn't be able to interact with the living now. It was wrong. Felix's shock gave way to something darker, and a smile bled across his face. A drop of blood fell from my cheek and landed on his, right below his eye. It dripped down the side of his face, like the twisted mockery of a tear. It should have fallen straight through him, but it didn't. Let's go! There. You see? That's the fear you should be feeling. His red eyes glinted with wicked satisfaction. You've gotten too used to ignoring me, Nick. Now I get to call the shots. I tried to pull back, but he'd wrapped his other arm around the back of my neck and was pulling me down closer to him, closer to that wicked, fanged grin. Just kiss already, guys! For the love of God, please kiss! I've forgotten how strong he was. I didn't have a kit on me. Hell, I wasn't even sure if it would work. It was supposed to be dead already. You can't even deal with my echo, and you want to go waltzing into a vampire den? Put those foolish dreams to rest. I shuddered and put my hands around his neck, squeezing, trying to choke him so he'd let me go. He felt like an ice sculpture, hard but brittle. I wondered if I could shatter him into a million bloody pieces. Screw you, Felix! I spit the words at him through gritted teeth. He laughed, high and sharp, his expression twisted into something inscrutable, similar to how he'd look when I asked about his surname. Oh, you wouldn't want that. I do want that, please, for the love of God! His touch made my skin crawl, the world narrowing into this pinpoint moment where it was just the two of us. I could feel the muscles in my arms getting fatigued. They quivered with exhaustion as I tried to choke him and hold myself away from him at the same time. Ever the hypocrite. The moment you think you're actually dead, you don't want to commit. Pathetic. You're one to... There was a knock at the door out of the trailer. We both froze and looked towards the sound. I could see the shadowed silhouette of someone through the curtain. Nick! You awake in there? Yeah, screw it. I'm coming in. Don't be mad. Got you a present. I felt my arm sink downwards through Felix. His grip on my shirt and neck dissipated. It was incorporeal again. Yeah, I could still see him under me, but something about Katie being there made him less real. Wait! Yeah, sure, like that's ever worked. Felix and I glanced at each other. I pushed myself up into a sitting position. Katie flung the door open and froze. Katie! Katie! So good to see you. Like, how's it going? Nothing unto words was happening here. Just trust me. Trust me on that. How are you doing? She looked me over. Nose wrinkly and the stale scent of the trailer washed over her. My clothes, which had already been disheveled, were an absolute mess. Are you in a wrestling match with yourself or something? Yeah, totally. Just a wrestling match. Nothing else. Don't think too much about it, Katie. She was holding the thermos of coffee in one hand, had a tote bag slung over her other arm. You look terrible. Yeah, thanks. Just what I needed to hear. I leaned back, knowing full well there was no way to play this off like I was doing just fine, but hell, guess it didn't hurt to try. Felix tried to slide back into his previous nonchalant position, but it wasn't exactly convincing. His nails were pressed into the back of the couch. Would he be able to tear it open in this reality now that we couldn't touch again? I didn't want to find out. I've never seen this woman before. Who is she? You don't dream of her. Though that's hardly surprising. You only seem to dream of the dead. I went back to ignoring Felix. Maybe that was a trick. The less I let him get under my skin, the less he could touch this world. Isn't that what he said in the dream? That I wanted him there? Well, what I wanted now was for him to disappear, right? So why the hell could I make that real? I glanced down my laptop and winced. Okay, maybe I was thinking about him more than I prefer to admit. Your face. What? Katie shot me an exasperated look, mouth flat with annoyance. Never mind. I was going to ask if you cut yourself shaving, but with that beard scruff, you obviously didn't. I reached up and touched my cheek. It came away slightly bloody, so it hadn't been all in my head. I didn't know if that made me feel better or worse. Oh, She rolled her eyes and sighed. Don't bother. We'll just say you lied about whatever the hell happened and I pretended to believe it. Deal? I couldn't help but chuckle. Yeah, deal. Felix glared in her direction, eyes roaming over the coffee and tote bag she was carrying before landing on the puckered scar that had curled around her neck. I don't care for her. She has no manners. You have no manners? You can't tell me that Felix isn't jealous here. Come on. He's obviously jealous of the fact that he's been replaced by someone else. Gosh darn it. Excuse me? You're one to talk. Sorry, just half awake. It's pretty damn early to come barging in. Well, I brought coffee and a present, so I think I'm forgiven. I sighed. Why would you do that? I haven't celebrated my birthday in, I let my voice trail off into a mumble. The last time I'd celebrated was when Bree and Tyler were still alive. They threw me a surprise party. Yeah, well, I tried to last year and the year before. It isn't your fault you kept ghosting me. You didn't even call me back after Christmas. I'm cheating on your gift a little since I meant to give it to you then. You also missed my birthday, but I get it. You got your own stuff going on. She surveyed the rundown trailer, gaze flicking over the peeling paint and scraped up wooden paneling. I meant to call you back. Yeah, sure. I groaned and buried my head in my hands, pressing my palms against my closed eyes. Just try to have a good time. We're hanging out. It's supposed to be fun. I don't have anything to give you. I feel terrible about. I told you, just give me a good time. She cracked a grin and winked. Felix let out an exasperated huff of air. Sure you don't want I tried to think of something I could pass off as a present and failed miserably. Felix had shifted back into a human, and I could feel his gaze crawling across my back. You're a terrible host. Felix sniffed, staring at me with a weird mixture of disapproval and glee. Talk about toxic. Whatever. The only thing he'd given me was a terrible gift basket and a lifetime of trauma. Yeah, I don't give a damn what he thought. I really don't need anything. Seriously. Here. She pulled out a gift bag and set it in front of me. It's not a bunch of candy, is it? Why would I buy you candy? I don't think I've seen you eat a single sweet thing in the entire time I've known you. I chuckled. Sorry. One year this guy gave me a gift basket full of stuff like that. Some freaking peach rings and old toffee. Guess I was just thinking about it. She raised her eyebrows. For your birthday? Nah, he just gave it to me. It wasn't a special day or anything. He have a crush on you or something? I didn't know you had it in you, Romeo. What's that supposed to mean? I was just under the impression you're just about as romantic as a wet cat. That's my totally unbiased ex-girlfriend opinion, by the way. Ex? I thought you guys were dating in the last game. Hey, you liked me for a little while. You dated? There's no way he's not jealous. You can't tell me this is not him being jealous. Come on. He leaned back on the couch, arms crossed over his chest, looking like he wanted to set the trailer on fire. I still like you, you idiot. Remember what I told you? Yeah. I opened Katie's present. Then we could talk about that instead of my failed love life. It was a belt. The dark brown leather of the strap was smooth and supple between my fingers. The steel buckle glinted in the dim light of the trailer. It couldn't have been cheap. It was the sort of thing I didn't deserve to own. Oh, it's nice. Well, geez, don't sound so excited about it. I just thought you probably needed one. The cheery determination in her voice was fading. Oh, Katie, I'm sorry. It really is nice. I don't know if it suits me. A small sound of frustration escaped her throat. Then what suits you, Nick? Ready secondhand clothes? The same jacket for the past 5 years? No belt? She gestured vaguely in my direction, expression getting flatter the longer she spoke. She's right, you know. You have terrible taste in clothing. And in women. I stood up. You want to go outside? Outside? Watch the sunrise? Yeah, something like that. It's feeling kind of stuffy in here. She shrugged. Sure, I want to talk to you about something anyway. She held up the thermos of hot coffee and sloshed it around. You got any mugs? I sat in the chill air, Katie standing next to me, the deep blue of pre-dawn twilight stretching across the sky. Fading stars blinked above us. I hadn't talked to anyone since I arrived, so I could only guess at the hikers and vacationing families who had made temporary homes at the other campsites nearby. I imagined them getting up for early morning adventures together. Once I accepted that college admission, I wouldn't be able to hide up here anymore, not while I was looking for that covenant pretending to earn a degree. My stomach roiled and clenched as I thought about the next part of my plan. I've got some new intel. It's about my mom. The clammy, jittery feeling intensified. Tried to hide it, tried to stop her from seeing. What kind of intel? I've heard rumors that whoever took her didn't track her down through you. I thought you wanted to know. Oh, that. My palpable relief gave me away. She turned to stare at me, a hollow look in her eyes, the look she always tried to hide, the look I first saw in her face the night her mother vanished. You already knew. Not a question. A frown covered up that moment of raw sadness. Good. Anger was always better than that. That pit. I shrugged helplessly. Then why didn't you tell me? It wouldn't have changed anything. I could have stopped it. It's my fault in all the ways that matter. She looked out at the snowy campground and sighed. Her breath steamed in the cool air. This is exactly why we didn't work. You're always so goddamn determined to make everything your fault. That's easy to do when it is. I pulled out a half-full flask of whiskey from my jacket pocket and poured some into the cup of black coffee. The scent of alcohol bloomed up from the hot liquid. You don't do that every morning, do you? I shrugged. I could feel Felix staring at me from inside the camper. I glanced over at him and he turned away, feigning disinterest. Today is... well, it hasn't been great. You can't keep doing this to yourself. It's no way to live. I'm fine. I'll be fine. Just don't take it too far, okay? When have I ever taken anything too far? Her eyebrows shot up so high that they nearly disappeared into her bangs. Her eyes widened and her lips curled into a disbelieving smile. I couldn't help but grin back. Okay. Point taken. Dawn was beginning to bloom across the sky. The warmth from the coffee cup and the steam from our collective breath surrounded us in a moment of calm reflection. It made me want to break it. There's also something I wanted to talk to you about. Oh? I winced. Right. I've been avoiding her calls. I stared down at the snow so I didn't have to see her disappointment. Look, I meant to get back to you. Really, I did. Months, Nick. It's been months. I did my last raid alone because you wouldn't answer the damn phone. My throat constricted in alarm. You what? What happened? Are you okay? I'm here, aren't I? The glint in her eyes was wicked and self-assured. That goddamn werewolf I tracked down isn't. My eyes were locked on her throat, and the thick scar that snaked across it. My fault, just like her mom's disappearance. Yeah, I was the one who pulled her into this world of monsters, and now she was digging herself in deeper. Is she? The metallic scent of blood and stale animal breath filled my nose. The beast slumped forward, transforming into a woman as a body collapsed on top of me. I was shaking from the adrenaline. Wired energy coursed through me. I could do this. I really could hunt down these monsters. The woman's eyes were dead and empty. She looked completely human now. The lupine features, consumed with bloodlust, had melted away with the last bit of her life force. A chill ran through me as I looked at her upturned lips. The small bit of relief on her face filled me with a burning envy that I couldn't explain. It was the same way Grayson had looked. I shuddered. I rolled her lifeless body off of me, trying my best to position her with dignity. I started taking my jacket off so I could cover her with it, but without the pressure of the thick fabric, I felt too exposed and pulled it back on. I was such a damn coward. Yeah, she's dead. The gun rattled in my hand. Over. It was over. I got the werewolf that had turned Grayson. She couldn't curse anybody else. I should be happy. I'd avenged her. You okay? I hunched over and vomited on the cool ground. A fifth life added to my tally. New piece of nightmare, ready and waiting to be added to the lineup. Right behind Bree, Tyler, Grayson, even Felix. Yeah. I choked out a laugh. I was jealous of a dead woman. The dead woman I'd killed. Because that was all I could ever do. I couldn't save anyone. All I could do was rob other monsters of their shadow of a life. The sound of insects in the night went silent. Nick, look out! Katie's cry morphed into a choked-off gurgle. Rigid fingers clamped down on my shoulder, sharp nails digging into my jacket. What? Katie! The mistress has been quite eager to meet you face to face, Nicholas Torres. You killed one of her favorite toys. The werewolf? The creature's laugh was high and cold. Its breath stank of frozen decay, like rotten meat preserved by the first frost of winter. Why would she care about some mutt? You've cut off part of a family tree. Felix was like a grandson to her. Felix! I could see Katie on the ground behind me, dark pool forming around her head. Was she dead? A numb, tingling spread through my body. That old, empty nothingness coming back to claim me. I closed my eyes. I'd done it again. I'd gotten someone else killed. I couldn't even feel it. Maybe I could tell him I was sorry in the next world. All of them. A guttural scream ripped through the dark fog that writhed around me like angry worms devouring a corpse. My eyes shot back open, and there was Katie, her ragged breathing misted unevenly in the icy air, her teeth clenched in pain and determination. A wicked wooden spike was clutched in her left hand. The kit! I'd given her my kit! She threw herself on the creature from behind. I could see dark blood welling up from the gash on her neck, the skin hanging open in a curved flap. The vampire let go of me and clutched at his chest, tearing at the dress shirt it was wearing. Thick, black ichor bloomed out from the place its now mutilated heart had been. No, I don't! His body ignited in a burst of acrid flame, going up like dry tinder. An inhuman wail sliced through the darkness. Katie stood above me, her breath coming out in ragged bursts, her triumphant expression growing hazy. She brought her fingers up to her mangled neck and collapsed. Hello? Nick? What was it you wanted to tell me? I shook my head, trying to clear it of those memories. Not like that was my strong suit. Was that the second worst night of my life or the third? Probably didn't matter. I glanced back and saw Felix peering out the window again, expression stony. A laugh that was closer to a sob ripped out of me. Katie just sighed. Look, you can't keep doing this alone. Sorry, I wasn't. I was thinking of old things, I waved half-heartedly at her neck. I picked my own battles, Nick. You can't go around feeling bad about my choices. I knew the risk that night. I chose to take them. She rested her hand firmly on my shoulder. Get over yourself. The words were harsh, but her expression wasn't. Let me back in. And I wasn't trying to talk about that. I just want to tell you that I'm going to college in the fall. Finally. The words came out in a rush. She let out a startled laugh and slapped my back. What? Damn! I'm glad you're finally going! Yeah, maybe it's the reset I need. That lie tasted bitter on my lips. I took another sip of coffee. I'm sure it will be. I'm proud of you. Gotta say, didn't think you'd actually do it. What's that supposed to mean? She shrugged. Just that it's weird to see you do something good for yourself. I gazed out at the snow-covered landscape. I hated lying to her. She'd find out eventually. She always did. But for this one moment, I could pretend my future was real and boundless. But I still couldn't meet her eyes. I pressed my fingers deeper into the ceramic heat of the coffee mug. You'll do awesome. I know you, and if there's one thing you're great at, it's picking things apart. It hurt to hear it because it was true. It was a life I should have had, asking questions and finding answers without every single syllable dripping with violence. I thought back to the boy I used to be, who had promised to be better. My fingers tingled with the remembered cold of that night, even as the heat from the coffee cup warmed my hands. I wonder if I would see him in my dreams one day, the child who thought he knew everything about pain. What would that teenager I used to be say if he could see me now from the other side of this cracked mirror? Time's a real thing. Don't I know it? Where are you going? Aspen Valley University. AVU? Damn, really? Congrats! It's where Grayson and I wanted to go. Oh, I hadn't known that. The yawning void of emptiness bubbled up inside of me. It was just one more thing. One more bit of future I'd be living like a thief. Wait, did you graduate from there? From AVU? Nah, ended up going to college out of state. Too much baggage over there, everything. I told you all that, remember? On the first date? The look of happiness on her face dissolved into sour suspicion. I'm glad you got in, but do it for yourself. Don't go there to chase ghosts. I looked back through my trailer window. Felix was still looking out at me, but fading. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. His form silently dissipated in the rising morning light with one last shake of his head. She'd be proud, you know? Grayson never envied anyone in her life. I always regretted not going there. I tried to will Grayson there. If Felix had pulled himself from my nightmares, maybe I could call her back with that small piece of me that still hoped. I needed to go to Aspen Valley to uncover secrets, but would it be so wrong to do something for myself at the same time? And if I couldn't manage that, do something in her memory? I tried to paint her into the scene with me and Katie. We'd all be drinking cocoa instead of coffee. Grayson put too much marshmallows into hers and Katie was teasing her. Yeah, that sounded like Grayson. Tonight, I try to dream of that. You're smiling. Yeah, I guess I am. To be continued. Anyway, that was Up All Night Daybreak. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys do want to play this for yourselves, link to the game will be in the description below. I absolutely love the way that this series has decided to tell its story. I love how it chose to actually reveal bits and pieces of detail and like reveal more of the story throughout each sequel, and it makes me so excited to see what exactly they're going to be coming up with Remnants of Dawn, which is going to be their sequel, by the way, and it's supposed to be coming out later this year, and that is something I'm really excited to see. If you guys do want to get this game alongside with a bunch of other games, books, and audio dramas, hey, link to the Queer Halloween Stories bundle is in the description below. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of the day. And as always, I'll be seeing you in the next video. This is Lion, signing off. Ciao.